Hello, back again, and now I want to talk about Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story. I think that's what it's called. Yeah. Has John C. Riley in it, and he's one of the main reasons to watch this if you're interested in it. This will be one of the first movies that I'll give a lower rating because, I think it would be wrong for me to say this movie's a 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10 or even 8 out of 10. I think this movie is good. I watched it in the past, and I watched it recently with my mom on my birthday. I picked out two movies for us to watch, and we watched Blazing Saddles and Walk Hard. And this movie is a parody movie too. It's basically a parody of the movie Walk the Line, where they did the life of Johnny Cash, basically, which I thought that movie was pretty good. Uh, been a while since I watched that. Been a while since I watched this. And I don't know why I picked this out. I mean, I usually look at Rotten Tomatoes and I check out the ratings on movies, and this has a fresh rating. I mean, it's somewhat high, but it's still kind of average. I don't remember exactly what it got. I'm going to say between like 60% to like 80% the highest or something. I don't know. But so it was fresh, and I'm like, well, mom might like this. I watched Step Brothers with my mom, which has Will Ferrell and John C. Riley. And John C. Riley's really funny. I like him, and like I said, that's one of the main reasons to watch this. This is, a solo movie. It came out after Step Brothers and all that. This came out, let's see, it says 2007. And just like Step Brothers is pretty raunchy, but I think Step Brothers is great. I really would recommend that. I guess it depends on what your taste is, but there's a lot of different comedy in that, and John C. Riley and Will Ferrell together as a duo is really great. Also, Talladega Nights is really good, and I don't think it's as raunchy as Step Brothers. So a lot of people, might have seen that first Talladega Nights. Where Will Ferrell's like a race car driver. They're both race car drivers, and like they're friends, and then they go against each other. And anyway, so this is a solo John C. Riley movie. He's also in What's Eating Gilbert Grape, and that's like a drama, and he plays like a serious role. And he doesn't play a lot in that movie, but he has some small parts, and he's pretty good in that. And I don't really know a whole lot else of what he's done. There's recently this Sherlock Holmes movie that came out with John C. Riley and Will Ferrell again, which probably got a lot of people excited because like the duo's back and stuff. But from what I've heard, it has really bad ratings, really bad reviews. So I'm not really interested in that. But at the time when I watched this back in the day, I used to watch a lot of movies, and I got a lot of catching up to now. I'm kind of trying to get back into that, wanting to watch movies. I used to go to the theaters and stuff. I didn't see this in theaters, but. Not as far as I didn't see it in theaters. But. So this is from the guy who brought you Knocked Up and Superbad. I don't think I've seen Knocked Up, but I've seen Superbad, and it's okay. I think maybe it's a little bit overrated, but it's alright. Let me read what the back of this says. Basically, says one of the most iconic figures in rock history, Dewey Cox, who is John C. Riley, had it all. The women, over 411 served. The friends, Elvis, the Beatles. And the rock and roll lifestyle, a close and personal relationship with every pill and powder known to man. But most of all, he had the music that transformed a dim-witted country boy into the greatest American rock star who ever lived. A wild and wicked send-up of every musical biopic ever made. Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story, is gut-busting proof that when it comes to hard rocking, living, and laughing, a hard man is good to find. And so there's a lot of sexual innuendos in this movie. I mentioned about watching this movie with my mom. This isn't a movie that I would recommend watching with your mom. It's pretty, there is a lot of perverted sexual stuff in this movie, which is the stuff that I really didn't enjoy as much. And, it just kind of made me cringe, and like, I don't really, only if sometimes if some of that stuff's done right. I mentioned how Airplane's I think is the best comedy of all time. It has some sexual stuff in it too, but, this is a little different, and this actually has like some nudity and stuff, like male nudity, and I'm like, I don't want to see that. But But there are some good laughs in this movie, and I mean, overall, I think it's okay. I think it's all right. But and I'm going to share spoilers and some things that I liked about it. And there's a lot of reoccurring jokes. Basically, this Dewey Cox, Dewey, it shows at the beginning when he's small child, and he has a little brother, and they're wrestling around in a barn outside the house or whatever, and there's machetes there that have like covers on them, and they're like, let's have a sword fight with the machetes. And his brother's like, like Dad doesn't want us messing with his machetes. And he's like, oh, come on, you wimp, like, let's do it anyway. So they start fencing with the machetes with the sleeves on them. They're like, oh, on guard and stuff. Well, if Dewey's the shield comes off of the machete with Dewey, and he like swipes his brother in half. He cuts his brother clean in half to where like his upper torso's on the ground, and then like you just see his legs just standing there. He's like, "Oh, you cut me in half, Dewey." So it's absurd, and I've mentioned in Blazing Saddles, I love the absurdity. There's plenty of that in here, but. So he killed his brother on accident, and his parents are upset, and his dad never lets him live up to that. His dad always says this line that made me laugh. It's so mean, but his dad's like, the wrong son died. And he just keeps saying that over and over again. And then his mom's like, oh, how could you say that? But so when he's a kid, he comes across like these blues singers, and they're singing the blues, and he's like, hey, I want to play. And they're like, you're just a child, you don't know nothing about blues. And he picks up the guitar, he starts playing and singing really good, and he's like, I cut my brother in half. And so he ends up getting musical talent, and as he's growing up, he's getting better and better and more famous. So it's basically his climb to fame and his destruction, and it's all about his marriage and how he's partying. And so it's kind of like your typical, it plays on the cliches of every rock star and all the biopics of them, like it said. There's some impersonations of other rock stars, like Elvis. It's funny. It makes Elvis look like a psycho, like he's really crazy, trying to mess with Dewey. Like, I think he tries to mess with a knife or something. He's like, hey, I don't know. They do the Beatles. They do impersonations of the Beatles, which is pretty funny. And so the one thing is his brother or his dad always... Well, he gets married, okay, he has kids and stuff, but then he's like touring, so he's away from his wife, and he ends up like falling in love with another woman, and so they get together, and his wife finds out, and she finds out, like neither one of them want to be with him, and then, he's getting on drugs. One of the reoccurring things is his band member, I can't think of the guy's name right now. There's this black guy that played on Saturday Night Live. He did like the Ladies Man skits. I draw a blank right now, but Tim Meadows, it says on here, Tim Meadows. He's one of his band members. And he always walks into the bathroom, and Tim Meadows is in there with like other people, and they're doing drugs. Like at first they're like smoking weed, and then the drugs like progress to harder, cocaine, popping pills, and whatever. And he'll go in there like, what are you guys doing? Like after something bad happened to him, something dramatic, he's upset. He goes into the bathroom, and they're there, and he's like, what are you guys doing or whatever? He's like, are you smoking marijuana? And he's like, yeah. He's like, you don't want any of this, Dewey. You don't want to do this. And he's like, well, what's it do to you? And he's like, it makes you feel good or whatever. And he's like, okay. He's like, that sounds addictive or whatever. And he's like, marijuana's not addictive at all. He's like, I'm telling you, you don't want this. And then he's like, well, that must be expensive. And he's like, marijuana is one of the cheapest drugs that you can get. So basically he's telling him that you don't want to take these drugs, but then he's like saying everything he can to like convince him that it's something good. And then Dewey ends up doing it. So he's getting addicted to drugs and stuff. And so that, like I said, that's a reoccurring thing. He does coke, and then they do pills, and it's the same thing, but it's funny enough. That's the part that some people like. And another thing is, like, whenever he gets upset about something, like when his wife leaves him or whatever, he'll go to the bathroom and he'll immediately like rip a sink out of the wall. And it kind of progresses. Like the first one he rips out of the wall or something and it's like steel or something, I don't know. Then like the second one, it's like a huge porcelain sink and he'll rip it out and just like throws it on the ground and it just shatters. You know? He says, "Oh God, I can't believe this is happening." So that's funny. And then he, like I said, the one thing that really stuck out to me though was his dad. Just how much of an asshole his dad was. He's like, the wrong kid died. And well, his mom ends up dying. And so his dad comes to tell him. And it might even be after his wife leaves him and stuff, just to add on all the bad news. I don't remember at what part it happens, but his dad's like, "I came here to tell you that your mother's dead." He's like, "Mom's dead?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, one night we were listening to your song on the radio," because at this point he's famous and he has music on the radio. And he's like, "We were listening to your song on the radio and your mom wanted to dance." And it shows like it shows it happening. And she's like, "Come on, honey, let's dance." And he's like, "Yeah, this music does kind of have a beat to it, doesn't it?" So they're dancing or whatever. And he accidentally, like, the mom accidentally, like, trips out the window, like a second story or something. So she trips out the window, hits the ground. And then, like, when she tripped out, like, she pulled the cord on the radio or something. And then the radio, like, came out the window with her and it knocks her on the head and kills her. So, and then it goes back to Dewey and his father, and he's like, "The radio hit her in the head and it killed her?" And he's like, "Yeah." He's like, "I just wanted you to know that it was your music that killed your mom." He's like, "Oh my God, how terrible." He's like, "Yep, the wrong kid died." And then he just... Well, later on, towards the end of the movie, they end up getting into a fight. Like, his father has been training to fight him with a machete the whole time. So they get in a fight, like, in the barn with the machetes. And his father, like, accidentally cuts himself in half. And then he's like, "I was so judgmental towards you, Dewey. Like, I didn't realize how easy it was to cut a man in half," and stuff. So, yeah, it's absurd and it's silly. There's some good stuff. But like I said, it has the male nudity jokes and a lot of sexual stuff, you know, from time to time. That's just, you know, not really that funny. Not so great. But I don't know. If I'd say, you know, if you're a fan of Step Brothers and you're a fan of John C. Reilly and stuff, then it's worth a watch, I guess. But I can't say, you know, it's a completely horrible movie. It's fair enough, you know, it goes all through his life into his old age, from his childhood to his old age, and the band splits up and the band gets back together, and him and his wife split up, and you know, and then his new lover, they split up and they get back together. It's just got all these tropes from these rock star biopics that I don't know what else to say about it. Ever since I've watched it, all I think about is really how his dad said that the wrong kid died. Just the way that he says it. I don't know what else to say about this. There's other funnier stuff that I probably can't remember right now. But yeah, I don't know. There's lots of stuff in there. I don't want to go on and on and make it sound like it's too great anyway, but it's alright. So I'd say it's like a 6 out of 10. You know, it's just maybe slightly above average. So, thanks for watching, and God bless. Let me know what you think in the comments. Peace.